Hello everyone, good afternoon. Today, if we'd been in school together, would have been a special day, being June the 29th. If we'd been at church yesterday, it would have been a special day to celebrate two special saints. If we look at the board, who are all these names associated with, do we think? We've got Pierre, we've got Peter, we have Pauline, Pablo, Petra. There's lots of different names up on the screen that reflect two people's names. They are names associated with St. Peter and St. Paul. So there we have two pictures, one of St. Peter and one of St. Paul. So who were St. Peter and St. Paul? Well, we know they were both disciples. So St. Peter was one of the disciples, and he was said to be the leader of the group. He was also Jesus' closest friend, so his best friend possibly. They were both very influential in the early church, which means they were very special people. They spent most of their lives preaching and spreading the good news after Jesus' death. They dedicated their lives to God. They never stopped believing or preaching, even when threatened with death themselves. And their feast day, like I said earlier, is today, the 29th of June. So I'm just going to read you a gospel. So this is from Matthew 16, 13 to 19. And it's Peter's declaration about Jesus. Jesus went to the territory near the town of Caesarea Philippi, where he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" "Some say John the Baptist," they answered. "Others say Elijah, while others say Jeremiah." "What about you?" he said. "Who do you say I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." "Good for you, Simon, son of John," answered Jesus, "for this truth did not come to you from any human being, but it was given to you directly by my Father. And so I tell you, Peter, you are a rock, and on this rock foundation I will build my church, and not even death will ever be able to overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom. What you prohibit on earth will be prohibited in heaven, and what you permit on earth will be permitted in heaven." Then Jesus ordered his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah. So that gospel, who did Peter say Jesus was? Well, he talked about him being the Messiah and about being the Son of God. Why did Peter say that? Because Peter believed, he knew how special Jesus was. He knew that he was the Son of God. Why did Jesus refer to Peter as a rock? Well, I think that he's referring to Peter as a rock as being someone who he trusted and a great support. And that's why he said he was a rock. He was a solid friend. How should we live our lives today? Well, if we live our lives today being a rock, what does that mean? To me, that means being a good friend. That means being supportive and being someone that we can rely on, just like Jesus obviously relied on Peter. Let's listen to the hymn. Just like Peter and Paul did during their lives, this hymn reminds us to use Jesus and the church as our foundation in our lives and go out and continue to spread the good news about Jesus.
Colors of day dawn into the mind. The sun has come up, the night is behind. Go down in the city, into the street, and let's give the message to the people we meet. So light up the fire and let the flame burn. Open the door, let Jesus return. Take seeds of his spirit, let his fruit grow. Tell the people of Jesus, let his love show. Through the park, on into the town, the sun still shines on. It never goes die. The evening draws on, the sun disappears, but Jesus is living, his spirit is near. So light up the fire and let the flame burn. Open the door, let Jesus return. Take seeds of his spirit, let his fruit grow. Tell the people of Jesus, let his love show. So light up the fire and let the flame burn. Open the door, let Jesus return. Take seeds of his spirit, let his fruit grow. Tell the people of Jesus, let his love show.
So if we think about how can we be like Peter, you might want to do a bit of homework on it maybe. How can we continue to build a solid foundation of faith and belief for our school? Have a think about your family. Who is a rock to you? Would anyone say that you are a rock to them? You might have been really supportive while you haven't been at school, looking after your siblings, helpful with your mum and dad. Lots of things and lots of positives of why we can be rocks to others. We can treat a rock like our friend. The rock could be someone that's really important to you. Someone could be your rock, your mum, your dad. Someone who's supportive, someone who cares. Someone just like Peter and Jesus. So I'm going to finish the assembly today based on St. Peter and Paul with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, when we think of the church, we think of a building and the people in it. We forget the likes of St. Peter and St. Paul, who helped to fill the churches with your word. Help us to really listen.